All right, good morning, good evening, good night. Welcome into another edition of the Nifty Q Show. I'm interviewing founders, leaders, and awesome builders in the NFT industry. Today I'm sitting with Mobile Matt and Joao, co-founders of LADZ, a Web3 gaming company and esports content community hub. We'll be discussing mobile gaming and Web3, esports and NFTs, and much more. Guys, I'm excited to have you in here from around the world. Joao's in Brazil. Matt's over there on the West Coast, so we're just having ourselves a party on Ape Day. Happy Ape Day, by the way. Ape Coin just hit. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing great. Excited to be here and talk about all this. Man, there's so much exciting stuff happening in the space, and just also really appreciate all the work that you and the crew are putting, these shows together. Loved one of the last episodes with one of our sub DAOs on with the LADZ Kong DAO, and really happy to be here today. So thanks for having us.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much. Directly from Brazil. I'm really excited to have this time here with you guys. Let's go.
Yeah, shout out to Gold Mamba and shout out to everybody here in the chat that is here along today. Guys, we are doing this live here on YouTube, but we are also on Spotify. We're on iTunes. There is going to be a giveaway in the middle of the episode for one of our projects that we just had on the Nifty Q Show a couple days ago. So even you guys at home listening on audio, you're going to have the chance to participate, but just stay tuned for that. So, guys, today's conversation is going to be a lot about mobile gaming. Matt, you have a big background there. Joao, you also are, working on adoption of Web3 and gaming there in Brazil. So there's a couple ways we could take this to start, but just in general, kind of give me that background, man. Give me that traditional introduction into who you guys are and how you found yourselves in blockchain.
Yeah, totally. I can kick us off here. I go back basically to the beginning of the mobile esports industry in the United States. It was around the time that Clash Royale as a game launched, and I was the first person to go out and contract a professional team to compete in events, and then also ran some of the first events, both online and live events. I ran a series out of the Chinese Theater in Hollywood, California, and really just been building at the forefront since then. Partnered up with one of the greatest esports orgs in North America, Complexity Gaming, and was director of mobile over there, and then joined up at the largest mobile gaming talent management agency in the West, and as director of business development. So I managed brand deals for 70 of the largest mobile games influencers, and worked with some of the best developers also in the space, companies like Tencent and Activision and Supercell, etc. So, but really, got a sense also, I think, because of the mobile background of what was coming here with blockchain gaming and play to earn. We really saw it pop up in mobile first regions and emerging markets first. And I think that's part of the reason why I saw it, and Joao as well, perhaps earlier than some of our friends in the PC and console-based industries. And Joao and I go back for years, and you have always been bouncing ideas off each other, being builders in mobile gaming, and just was really natural for us to get together and go after specifically Brazil and the gaming guild market. And here we are, about almost 6 months later with where we are now with LADZ. So, but yeah, Joao, I'll let you do a quick intro too.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. And yeah, yes, guys, I've been actually building the mobile gaming landscape here in Brazil. But I'd say that even before I started working with esports here in Brazil, I have a background coming from some technology and startups companies here at Brazil. And shortly after that, I actually ran a startup international company here in Brazil to actually bring the operations to Brazil from the zero. So it was a really awesome experience working with the technology startups industry here. But I'm a hardcore gamer, guys. So I've been always looking for some opportunities to develop something inside of this space. And then I had the chance to be actually the head of innovation and also mobile gaming in one of the greatest esports organizations here in Brazil. So specifically because of that, and I was really building the landscape here, actually investing in a lot of different games. Some of them, for example, like Free Fire, PUBG Mobile, Brawl Stars, Clash of Clans. We were actually the first esports org here in Brazil to invest professionally in all of these mobile games. So again, naturally, we've been connecting and sharing a lot of ideas, me and Matt here. We are both, of course, blockchain enthusiasts. And then here we are building LADZ. I'm really excited to share more about it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that quick background. We're going to dive deep before we head into LADZ because you guys have some significant backgrounds in mobile sports or mobile esports. I want to give a quick shout out to Josh, who was able to set this up. One of his clients apparently is Riot, and I'm a big League of Legends and Valorant player, and I'm a big PC gamer. So I probably have a little bit of bias against mobile games, and I want to jump in and get more information because I need to be schooled on what the differences are between maybe setting up an event or having adoption into a DAO or a guild as opposed to it being on desktop or PC. Like, what are the traditional differences between mobile and desktop?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that I would point out is that there really aren't a ton of differences, because when you look at the players, they're the same hardcore gamers that are grinding these games for hours a day. It's the same people that are hopping on to have play sessions with friends. It's just the device that they're using is different, right? And I think we've especially seen over the last 5 years or so a huge surge of development in the capabilities of mobile games, right? They're becoming much more robust. You're able to have this incredible gaming experience on mobile devices that you haven't generally been able to have prior than 5 years ago. And then also mobile technology is better than ever. I mean, it's now to the point where you literally have a gaming PC in your pocket. I have a phone that has 12 gigs of RAM, 144 hertz screen, and built-in air and liquid cooling. Okay, and that's a phone. So the fact that you can have such a robust gaming experience on mobile is really wild. And I think one of the biggest differences too that mobile has is the accessibility. Because regardless of where you are in the world, chances are you've got a phone that's capable of playing games, and that makes games so much more accessible, especially with a free-to-play model, to where you can engage with gaming as a really rabid fan, no matter who you are or where you are, and that's why we've seen mobile take over in the world.
Joao, how does the mobile game adoption look in Brazil? You mentioned like other countries outside of maybe the West, having a better, look at mobile gaming and better access there potentially to at least the communities and setting up kind of like full-on adoption within that country. So how does mobile gaming look, or gaming in general look in Brazil?
Yeah, mobile gaming is extremely important here in Brazil. And even when I started working with esports, I understood that it would be a natural way of the development of the esports and the gaming industry here in Brazil. Because, for example, Brazil is the top 5 country in the world in terms of the number of smartphone devices. Everybody here is actually playing a lot of games. The penetration of gaming here is more than 50% of the population. So it was really natural, especially after the success of Free Fire, for example. Free Fire is one of the biggest mobile games in the world. And a big part of this success is actually because of the results they were achieving the last years in Brazil as one of the main regions. So it's really natural for the Brazilian guys to actually develop this mobile gaming appealing. And I totally agree with Matt. Accessibility is a really great point, because people here in Brazil, at least a big mass, they don't have the financial power to actually have this high-end devices. And a lot of game developers, they are actually developing some games that have this kind of accessibility, not only in terms of works with high-end devices like the one that Matt mentioned, but also with really low-end devices. So again, a lot of people can play, more audience, more engagement. So it's really important here.
There has to be like some other parts of that equation, right? Of like Brazil being this like mass adopter. Because I was playing Thetan Arena the other day, for example, and I was going on to Twitch and looking at all the streamers, all the top streamers, Portuguese. Like it's all Portuguese language, and
they were probably our creators, by the way, when you saw that.
We'll get into that. I would love to talk about like you adopting creators, but what are some other like reasons why mobile gets adopted in a country, or why Brazil and Brazilians specifically are just in this? Is there any I mean, is it just random? Did it just happen by chance?
I don't think it's random, first of all, but I mean, Brazil, first and foremost, is just one of the most passionate player bases when it comes to gaming in general, right? And that's been true for decades. We saw that especially with first-person shooter games like Crossfire or Counter-Strike, and still just a massive market as well for League of Legends. So as a player yourself, you may know of CB LOL and the league that's going on in Brazil. It's massive, and one of the largest games also for viewership and engagement on social media. Joao even mentioned Free Fire as a title. I think it's a great example for just how huge the gaming market is in Brazil, because with Brazil being the prominent region, Free Fire actually became the most viewed esports tournament of all time with peak concurrent viewers. They got 5.4 million peak concurrent viewers, and that record still stands today for a single stream. So the fact that can be accomplished also with the power of that game and the influence in Brazil, it's absolutely massive. So for us, it was a no-brainer to go, start in that region, and of course with Joao's existing, network and great connections and stuff in the space, and it's been building building there for years. Was really natural. We think there's also a great overlap with play to earn gaming and the way that we can impact people's lives as well.
Yeah, totally. I like to say that when you're looking to the success of a specific game, it's not only about the people that are playing in this game, but it's also the audience that sometimes only watching it. So what we're seeing is a huge trend here that we have a lot of the Brazilian gaming audience that are really interested actually to play the game or at least to watch the streamers that are playing the game. So this kind of engagement really helps in terms of the development of new opportunities inside of the mobile gaming space here in Brazil. So again, I think that that's a perfect scenario, and that's why we're really betting on some of the actions for the play to earn scenario here, starting in Brazil, of course, but looking globally.
Yeah, so how does that adoption of users and basically adoption by the entire country to mobile games, how does that in turn affect like development in the country? Are there a lot of developers and studios coming out of Brazil now that you see mobile games kind of taking off in the country, or is it specifically games are created outside of the country and the user bases are in these, developing or, other countries?
Great question. So we're actually seeing both take place. Obviously, with Brazil being such a huge market from a player-based perspective, lots of games are looking to enter the region. But it's also just quite frankly a tough market to tap into if you're not, based from Brazil or have a local team kind of helping you. So there's definitely nuances with having success, and that's part of what we know well is how to build a community in the region and what people are going to like and how to use our content creators to talk about games and things that are happening, right? So, but the opposite's true also. I mean, there's some great publishers that are from Brazil. One of them being Wildlife, who are transitioning, and lots of developers as well transitioning in the industry to Web3. So we're seeing the opposite as well. I mean, there's so much talent in Brazil, especially when it comes to creativity and artists. There's been some phenomenal NFT projects that have stemmed out of Brazil, and obviously when we talk about gaming as well, with it being a huge market, there's the people here building as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to talk about your guys' background here as it comes to finding out about NFTs, Web3 gaming, and then, figuring out that you wanted to found BAZE. So how did both of you kind of have your introduction, and then when did the light bulb go on?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story, but it happened slowly and then suddenly, which is kind of a theme in Web3, right? So I personally got involved in Axie Infinity back in March, just through like personally playing the game and had a bit of a scholarship program. And come summer, I really got the sense that like I wanted to do something big in Web3. And obviously through that process, Strauss, someone that I just have a lot of respect for and have always been bouncing ideas off of him, right, for years with the great work he's done in building in mobile esports in Brazil. And, I showed him, some things that I found in the industry. Also, like YGG, it became very clear, like, hey, they're in a great position. They know what they're doing. It's really exciting. Like, I wonder what we could do, right? And Joao then took that and managed to, not just nail it, but talk directly with Gabby from YGG. And one thing led to another, and we ended up becoming the official Brazilian expansion of Yield Games. And that was how BAZE was founded. So we're the official Brazilian branch and been able to rely on YGG in large part as we got started, especially to jumpstart our operations and act as a bit of an accelerator for us. And so much respect for our great partners there.
Yeah, I want to jump into that. And Joao, I want to get your background too, but take me to like that light bulb moment, right? Of okay, this is Axie Infinity the first time you've heard the term NFT, and then did it really go quickly for you to say like, hey, I'm in and we're good to go?
Yeah, so I've been a cryptocurrency user just personally for years, and also been active in the NFT space. But it was really the light bulb moment when I saw what was happening with blockchain gaming that made it so clear to me that this was the future and that I had to be part of it. And to me, it really comes down fundamentally to ownership going to the players, because we already see in traditional games that people are putting tens of thousands of dollars sometimes into these games to get cosmetics and playable characters and stuff, but you never actually have real ownership. In fact, a lot of games go so far as to make it against the terms of service to try to sell accounts or sell skins. But at the same time, even going back further to World of Warcraft days and so many other things, there's been these kind of natural markets that develop where people try to sell the currency copy of the title because people find it valuable and they want to buy it, right? And exchange skins and stuff like that. And so it's almost like blockchain gaming opens up this natural demand from the player base to actually own things and to, create a bit of a market around it. And so to me, that was the light bulb moment, is just seeing the future of ownership going to the players. And that's only possible really at scale the way that it is in blockchain gaming.
Joel, let's get that background of how you found out about NFTs, blockchain, crypto. If you're a crypto guy from back all the way in the day, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, tell me about it.
It's kind of a funny story because again, like Matt, I was actually investing in crypto since 2017, something like this, and all of my life, I was actually trying to find. I'm an early adopter of new technologies, and so I was actually also working with innovation. And in all of my previous jobs here, and I was always asking myself what would be the next steps for the industry that I've been working so far. And then I actually started using Twitter. Twitter helped me a lot in terms of finding more things about this space here. So even before I started actually thinking about a business inside of this space, like I did with startups, like I did with esports, I started looking for people. And then I actually started looking for some of the greatest builders in this space already, even outside of Brazil. And to be honest, I could only find us outside of Brazil because we are kind of the pioneers here too. So I started knowing people and providing some value, helping with a lot of people. Then I had the chance to meet Gabby from YGG, the guys from X Infinity too, some other DAOs and etc. And then it's what we call here the rabbit hole here. I started actually studying a lot about it, sharing a lot of ideas with Matt, and he was doing the same to me. And then again, it was a natural path, but I think this kind of curiosity that was with me here, and also the crypto Twitter really helped me to find the best way to start something and see this potential. Again, a lot of stuff, but crypto, my previous experience in gaming, esports, and great people with me, of course, Matt, it was really natural.
How did you guys meet, by the way, like specifically?
How did we meet, Joao? It was a few years ago, but
Oh, again, I think I remember. First of all, again, Twitter. Matt is a really well recognized guy in terms of mobile gaming there. And then I was working with mobile gaming. I remember that at some point I sent him also a cold DM on Twitter. Man, I need to know you. Let's talk. Let's like change some ideas. And then the coach of Free Fire at INTZ actually also met him. And then we got connected with, again, from different ways. And then we started to actually start participating in the same panels, same events. He invited me to a lot of different projects, consultancy projects, to, again, also natural, but I think that the first time it was via Twitter too. Thanks, Twitter.
I think you're right. It's so funny because like we get a lot of people asking us too, like, hey, how can we get into this? How do we get started? And like, it's really, it can be that simple sometimes. It's just like making that first connection, just taking the effort, going out a bit on a limb and sending someone a message, right? Just, being short, to the point, and like friendly, but like you can open any door if you really set your mind to it.
I completely agree with you guys there. There's a lot of people that come to me and say, how do I get into this space? It's like, well, you just have to do it. You have to stop talking about it and you just have to do it and figure it out, like we all did that are sitting here. But a couple lightning questions here, guys. As far as gamers, I always love the nostalgia of talking about old games and what led you to being a gamer in the first place. What are some couple games that you guys like that made you gamers? Was it WoW? Was it Mario 64? Was I don't want to date you, but let me know some games that made you guys gamers.
That's a great question. I think like I myself have been obviously a gamer my whole life. That's pretty much what you'll find with people in the gaming industry, right? But I think I started really taking it a lot more seriously, of all things, with Clash Royale, which is probably not the game that most people will say when they're asked that question. But to me, like that was the first time where I started, like I flipped that switch. And I'm like, you know what? I really want to get involved in gaming and esports, and I'm going to put everything into it. And it just happened, like, the timing was right. The game had just launched, and everything was kind of coming together with launching an esports org. And but that I have still so much nostalgia for Clash Royale, and it's probably still today the game that I play the most. Just also kind of reminiscent of like what I was able to do during the heyday of the game and stuff like that too. So definitely Clash Royale is number one for me.
Awesome. Yeah, and for me, I, I don't know if I'm able to say how many hours I spent in some of the games that I play here,
You could say it.
but
Make me feel
We,
better.
we may
but
have
again,
investors watching. Okay, maybe you shouldn't say. But
Well, it's not anymore,
but
guys.
again,
That's beyond
that's
us.
okay. That's very true. That's very true. Yeah. Yeah.
but I started actually playing a lot some of MMORPG games here in Brazil. It was a fever, to be honest, here in Brazil. Everybody was playing a lot of this, I don't know, Priest of Tale, RuneScape, all
RuneScape.
WoW.
Mm.
And I had a huge group of friends, online and offline, that was actually playing with it a lot. But again, I also had, like Matt, one moment that I had this switch to the next moment that I realized that, man, this is so crazy. And this happened with Counter-Strike. Again, Brazil has a great history in terms of the competitive game Counter-Strike, a lot of
Hmm.
world championships, the best players. We have a lot of them coming from here. And then I started actually traveling all over Brazil to go to some championships of esports. And then I saw a lot of people, man, I want a signature of this man. This is my idol. I could see the passion of everybody there in all of these different places I've been actually traveling to see these sort of tournaments. And then after one tournament in Belo Horizonte here in Brazil, man, it was crazy. I need to work with that. And that was my shift here. I really played a lot of Counter Strike, but also was actually an esport enthusiast for it. And then I started looking to work inside of this industry.
This is a constant theme here on the show, but people have to wait a long time before we actually make it to the project because I have all these little trivia or like mini questions that I ask. So, Joao, give me a thumbs up or thumbs down for Valorant? Are you a big Valorant player at all, or do you like Valorant?
I like that. Yeah, in the last years, FPS is actually my main kind
Yeah.
of spending some time gaming between FPS and of course mobile gaming with some Brawl Stars, Wide Rift. But yes, Valorant, I like that.
Yeah, this is a really cool conversation because, especially because you guys have a mobile background, you're a little bit more broad in the terms of being able to get connected to people around the world, right? At least that's an assumption that I'm making. I love the game of soccer. I think it's really cool that in different areas you have different types of players. Is that in esports as well? Do you see a difference between, like in soccer, Brazilians play it really beautifully, and then the Germans, they play really efficiently? Is there a difference in gamers around the world that you see? Like maybe Koreans are more technical or things like that we see in League?
That's a fascinating question, actually. I've never been asked that before. But I do think that there are some differences. Specifically, we see that in MOBAs, where generally, like, Eastern regions have just been ahead of the West when it comes to MOBA esports for quite a while. And part of that is their ability to just work as a unit and focus on macro. And generally, Western esports players are just they get kind of tunnel visioned and aggressive and go for the kill, whereas Eastern players might be happy to give up a kill if it means that they gain territory, right? So there's definitely, I think, one macro difference that I've seen in MOBAs for sure.
Joa, do you have any comments there? Is there a difference between like a US and a Brazilian gamer?
Yeah, I had some international experiences. Of course, there are some kind of different profiles that we can really see that. But to be honest, there's nothing so different for me. But when we look, for example, to the audience, I don't know, there's something different with the Brazilian audience. They're kind of crazy. I remember until today when we had a World Championship of Counter-Strike in Brazil, all of the players needed to ask for the audience to stop screaming so loud because they even with the noise canceller, they weren't listening to each other. So again, we are really engaged and love to cheer for something. But in terms of players, I see some points, but not so critical.
Okay. All right, last question that I have before we move into Bays here. You guys are familiar, obviously, with the esports scene in general, right? And I was having this conversation with Josh here before we pressed live, who set this episode up, in that NFT people want to be in esports, or at least NFT gaming people want to be in esports, and esports wants to get into NFTs. Just from your experience, what is the esports kind of sentiment here? I know, Matt, especially you're out in LA. There's a lot of headquarters for esports organizations out there. What are the conversations you're having with the esports orgs out there right now as it's related to NFT gaming?
Yeah, great question. So I think that the broader esports industry is still kind of learning about what NFTs and blockchain gaming specifically are. I think with any new technology, there's just this element of kind of skepticism in that you kind of shy away from things you don't understand, right? And we like Joao and I and everybody in the mobile esports industry have kind of been building through this type of stigma as well to an extent, because in the esports industry, mobile esports is kind of the new kid on the block, right? Where we are kind of fighting through stigma and fighting through even within like the perception of what esports people think on the PC and console based side. So blockchain gaming is kind of this new phenomenon that's popping up. It does have a bit of perceptions of people that have strong opinions but don't understand really what they're talking about, right? And so we're kind of trying to pierce through that through education and information, and really being an example of how blockchain gaming should operate sustainably and with NFTs that are built for utility and long-term sustainability in mind. So I think most of the esports industry, at least as I understand it right now, is just kind of like waiting to see and trying to learn. But I don't think it's going to be long at all until we see some of the first movers really coming in at scale.
No, I don't think so here. The point is, it's a little bit harder for some people to be an advocate for something if they don't really understand more about this. And that's why we're focusing a lot in education, not only entertainment. So it's two pillars that we need to work at the same time here. So again, it's going to be natural, but we need to provide more context about why it's important and why it's going to be the next revolution.
Yeah, it really has been a wild ride for us. I mean, it's crazy to think about just how much we've accomplished or have gone through, right, in 6 months. And I think, first of all, things like are quick when it comes to esports and gaming, but in Web3, it's like another level. And so thinking about this is like thinking about the Stone Ages, when in reality it was like 7 months ago that we went through this. But yeah, so Joao being so savvy and making connections and using crypto Twitter, was able to get that first introduction with Gabby. And I mean, I'd love to hear your perspective on that conversation, Joao, but it seemed like just from that very first conversation, it was really clear that there was something big to be had. And we were able to just get a ton of support from them as well, and take those first steps in founding Bays as a gaming guild.
Exactly. That was something really clear to us because we understood that the biggest builders on Web3, it's like a little bit of different from where we came from. They are really open and collaborative in terms of helping potential projects, of course. So since day one, they understood how is the potential that we could bring to the table, and they were completely open to help us start the project. Actually started connecting both me and Matt with the best people inside of each one of the areas to really build a Web3 native company, like governance, token economics, investors, again, access to capital, everything that you may imagine. They were really helpful to us since day one.
Was that new to you guys? Was that just completely like, holy shit, we're talking like deep tokenomics here. Thank you so much for being here.
We definitely were self-aware early on about what we were good at and what we need to learn. So that was part of what we focused on, especially in our seed round, was including strategic partners that are going to cover our basis on crypto native processes, on tokenomics, DAOs, etc. And of course, with the strong help of YGG to ramp up the guild operations, being able to use their structure as a template for us, right, in order to get started. So it wasn't shortly after that point, though, that we really got the sense that we could build something special and really scale an amazing company. And as soon as we especially got through that seed round, turned our focus immediately to hiring the best people in the world. And so we made a few great additions. Actually, we were the first gaming guild to acquire another gaming guild. It's a great team that we're actually starting a similar operation locally in Brazil. And instead of competing, we're like, hey, look, we can join forces and become something that's better than the sum of our parts. And they were essentially also approaching a guild model from another angle. So we had a great foundation with crypto native processes at that time, the fundamentals down and strategic partnerships. And they brought this awesome angle with superstar creators and also some intellectual property they've been developing. And we were able to join forces and merge executive teams as well. So that was a great moment for us to jumpstart, and we were able to continue adding on to the team as well shortly after that.
This merger acquisition conversation is really dope because it's happening in the PFP space now with like the apes buying CryptoPunks. We see it, from DAO to DAO. What was the guild's name? And then let's break down exactly like what that looks like in practice. Like, is there a loss of users or people that don't want to essentially be acquired by Base?
Yeah, so it actually worked out really smoothly for us. The guild at the time was called Soma, which means plus in Portuguese. And essentially they had only just begun. They were not even beginning their seed round fundraising process. And so it was just a very smooth process of bringing them on essentially directly at the base level and bringing the intellectual property that they'd been developing to us. And so we were able to get through that moment quickly and just continue basically building out our team here. So as of now, we're 45 full-time employees. We're looking to double that actually over the next 3 months. And going through also a Series A now that we're looking to really hyperscale as well during this next phase.
Awesome. Joao, can you give me any background on what you're kind of building behind the scenes and what your role is at Base?
Of course. Again, since day one, we understood how important it is to actually be a global company, but look at Brazil as our first step. So it was really important for us as Base to really be connected with the best people here inside of the gaming industry already. So we understood that we only not was in the best spot in terms of industry, that it's a play-to-earn model, again, Web3 and etc. in the same place. But we understood that in order to build this big dream, we needed the best people. So again, it was really important, and it is already until today, to have this close connections with everybody in the gaming industry here in Brazil, to really be connected with the best people, and of course develop some of the more regional actions here. And we are always working together, dividing this kind of international development and regional development here. So I think it's the best way possible. But yes, I'm working a lot of different things here in terms of the business, but this regional knowledge was really important for us until now.
Yeah, and also an interesting note, if you don't mind, our roles technically are co-CEO together, and I think that's been so important for us to be able to grow so quickly, is that we each have the autonomy to really shot call and move quickly, right? Because we're so aligned on our vision for this company. Again, being able to really build out a team that we trust, just a couple people to shout out. We're never going to be able to get to all the amazing people at the company, but one of our first hires was Guy Barbosa. He was previously head of global gaming business development at ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok. Was running all of TikTok gaming also in LATAM, and he left ByteDance in that executive position to join us here as managing director. We're also able to bring on, we mentioned how big Free Fire is with content. The former director of content for Free Fire ESports is now our director of content, Carolina. And we also have the phenomenal woman who built out the creator community at TikTok and designed essentially the creator program that was then scaled globally. She's now head of community for us here. So also executives that were involved with EA and BBL and Riot Games and Garena and et cetera. But we're really so proud of all the people and the caliber that we have, and the faith that they have for leading such great positions in Web2 gaming to come build out this venture with us. It's amazing.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like that pitch meeting is too hard with a team like that, guys. You're doing a good job getting that team together.
Yeah, it helps. And, talent attracts talent is another thing as well. People that are really good want to be able to operate and do amazing things together with other great people. So, hoping to keep this up and, like I said, expand and double our size over the next few months here.
Yeah, that's dope. So I want to talk a little bit about the content piece. And we mentioned it earlier in the episode that you guys are really focused on streamers. How are you guys thinking about streaming and content creators as it relates to Web3? That being like NFT integrations or social tokens or just tokens in general. I think that this is a spot that we're just making our way to, right? I think Dr. Disrespect just mentioned he's going to do like some type of NFT. So shout out to the doc. But how are you guys thinking about streaming and content as it's related to NFTs?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, the easiest way to think about how we interact with content creators is just like an esports org, right? So if you're familiar with 100 Thieves or FaZe Clan or Team Liquid, we really just go out and sign content creators, and they represent us in our brand, and we kind of work them into some official content at the company level and stuff like that. So that's how we're currently interacting with a lot of our content creators. But we were able to actually announce a couple huge acquisitions from the content creator side of our company. We just released, I believe it was like a week and a half ago or something, Nobru and Sarol, who are two just superstars, larger than life in Brazil. I think the combined social following for the two of them is like either 60 or 70 million followers across all their socials. And so we were able to basically put on this really beautiful production. It's almost like a cinematic quality trailer to announce them joining the company. It was designed to also teach people and their audiences, of course, about play to earn. What is it, right? So it goes through kind of this awesome script and puts them in funny situations where they're ordinary people. They're delivering to a customer or something, and they're like, oh, I can make money through play to earn gaming. It's like, yes, of course. So it's really funny. I encourage you guys to all check it out. I think it's still our pinned tweet on the Baze Twitter.
I saw it today. Yep. It's amazing.
Baze GG. Yeah. So really excited about what we're doing on the creator front.
So yeah, take me through kind of your talks with these creators, Joao, because I'm assuming you're the one on the ground talking to these guys. They're Portuguese or they're Brazilian and they're speaking Portuguese. What are the conversations you're having with these Brazilian streamers, and how does that go?
Yeah, I think it was really natural too, because part of my experience here in Brazil also was to actually work with streamers inside of the esports world, and not only had the chance to meet some of them, but also to meet good professionals inside of this industry. So we had a talent and partnerships department here inside of Base with some great professionals from this space already that really helped us to get connected and know how to deal and talk with all of these streamers. But I think we have two main profiles here. The first one is actually the native ones, that is a little bit easier, and it really doesn't matter. We have people even from outside of Brazil, but in terms of the native audience, people that really started streaming NFT games and etc., we have about 70 to 80% of all of the hours watched on Twitch here in Brazil until now. And that's maybe why Matt said that if you are looking at some Portuguese streamers, maybe it's one of our creators too. But in another hand, we are having some great conversations with some, like Matt was saying here, great Web2 traditional gaming creators that are looking for this switch for Web3 gaming too. So again, we are helping a lot of them, not only in bringing this kind of support in terms of entertainment, content, and etc., but educating not only their audiences, but even them. We are providing a lot of content and some workshops and different programs here to help them know more about what they are looking for. So yeah, it's becoming a little bit easier because everybody's talking about it right now. It's going for the mainstream. So again, we are here to help them.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about this idea that like guilds are going to go into this 2.0 fashion, right? We've seen a lot of guild 1.0s of we are just kind of a scholarship farm, and you guys are the next, I feel like, iteration where you're really focused not just on setting up a scholarship with a user, you're focused on making a brand and having a culture and having content around that. What do you guys foresee as like the future for these guild 1.0s and Web3? Is there going to be like a really big pullback in maybe ones that got started in the bull market? It's easy to throw up a micro guild when Axie Infinity is at $100, and you're making great cash. How do you guys foresee this like move or growth of guilds in the next couple years and how they'll look?
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting question. I think, first and foremost, we are in a bit of an odd time, maybe is the best way to describe it, for play-to-earn gaming, because like Axie Infinity, for example, have amazing things that they have planned for their next Origin and V3 launch, but it's just a matter of time, right, before they're able to release those and ship the features and stuff. So even if you're a scholarship guild in Axie Infinity, I mean, the state of the game right now is going to be totally different, in my, opinion, and not financial advice, to what it is going to be, when the next game mode launches. And so I think, I totally understand how some of the sentiment might be if you're just like a 1.0 guild right now, but I think it's also just dependent on the games that are available. And we know other titles like Illuvium are launching in the future, and Star Atlas and some of these AAA quality type games. So I'm interested to see, as these launch, how the 1.0 model continues to grow. But at the same time, like we got into this from day one, knowing that we want to build beyond 1.0, and that's based on our learnings from esports, traditional gaming, and knowing also the esports organization model, right? So obviously it's different, and there's new revenue streams here in blockchain gaming, but to us it was a no-brainer that we wanted to take that structure.
Yeah, I don't mean to like completely put the 1.0 terminology into everyone's like lexicon here. Do you actually view it that way? And then how, like, what are things that guilds are doing now that you're seeing and you're like, I wouldn't do that. Like I don't see like a future of that. Like where are guilds kind of dropping off or dropping the ball essentially right now?
That's I would personally say that guilds that aren't building support infrastructure for scholars are kind of falling short, or not taking advantage of all the opportunities or things that they should be doing. For example, if you're assigning someone to an NFT to play it, and after you assign them, you never talk to them again. It's like, are you really growing? Is that player getting better? Is that asset being fully utilized? So even on our scholarship, the pure 1.0 operations, from the start, we wanted to even take inspiration from esports orgs and teams, right? So that we have support staff around them and dedicated coaches, managers, sessions, right? Tracking their progress and growth. And I think it's also so important. I always see Jiho on Twitter for Max Infinity talking about the personal development of scholars and educating them on financial practices and what to do with their earnings and how they can manage them responsibly. And I think that that's such an awesome thing. So we also want to go the extra mile and not just put assets to use, but to actually create the community where there's knowledge sharing and growth that's taking place. And I think that that's an important thing for all scholarship operations, even ones that are just focused on that 1.0 type of stuff.
Yeah, with the lending piece here and the scholarship piece, do you see that potentially going to your streamers that you signed as well? Like, is there going to be a situation where you have like this really big streamer playing an awesome game and you guys lend him this $50,000 asset, not for ownership purposes, of course, but like maybe it's during a tournament or what have you? How do you guys view lending assets to like streamers?
We want to have the best assets in the games that we're in. So, that's also kind of part of the appeal, is being able to see these games at their best and have access to awesome stuff. And that includes things inside the game and outside the game, right? So that's definitely a part of it for us.
Okay, I'm going to pause here because I do have a question from the community, but I also wanted to do this giveaway for those of you that made it this far into the episode. I think we're like 10 minutes from completion here. So we're just starting these giveaways on stream, so forgive me if I really completely botched this, but guys, this is the way it's going to work. You're going to go to Spotify, you're going to drop a rating on the Nifty Q show. You are going to our Discord, the LADZ City Discord. It'll be in the description. It is in the description now. And then you're going to snapshot and give me a receipt of you doing that rating, and then we have a copy of Snow Crash and Pizza Sticks NFT giveaways here. So one person is going to be picked here at random from that giveaway to win a copy of Snow Crash and Pizza Sticks NFTs. Shout out to the Pizza DAO for getting that done for us. So get that done. Audio, if you're listening afterwards, it's like 48-hour window, so you got time. But guys, I'll get better at that, I promise. Question from the community: do you see growth in platforms like Theta, D Live, or Ultra? Will these gain decent traction in the Web3 esports streaming? So kind of a more traditional versus grassroots question, I think there.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question because we've seen a lot of companies pop up even just in traditional gaming when it comes to streaming services. Everybody that's been in traditional gaming and following esports side knows about Mixer and their strategy to go sign Ninja and kind of what happened with Mixer afterwards. I think that in a new industry, it would probably be normal for there to be a little bit of turbulence, right? And new companies starting up, trying to experiment and figure out how this part of the industry works, right? Because blockchain gaming is totally different. There's Web3 layers that you can add on top of streaming sites. There's features that are unique to blockchain and minting, and creators, are able to have these kind of Web3 aspects to their channels as well, right? So there's lots of experimentation that's happening right now. I also actually really know the team well at Theta, who they've been building some awesome stuff from decentralized broadcast bandwidth processing and some of these other next level type of technologies. So love to see them really crushing it still in the space. And so yeah, I think that it's going to be seen as far as how well they can execute, right? And I don't think anybody really knows who's going to really survive or what the models are going to be and stuff. But right now it's all about experimenting, and the ones that can learn faster and iterate are the ones that are going to survive.
Joao, I want to throw this question. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just really want to say that I totally agree here. We are in so innovative space that sometimes it's much more about how you adapt for the habit, self-consuming stuff, and etc. So let's see. There is no right answer here, but it's really important to really be looking for the innovation that it's coming there. So that's why I'm really happy to see some of these actions that some of these platforms are taking in terms of innovating and experimenting, to be honest, at the end of the day. So let's see.
Okay, we will wait and see. One quick point on the mention that about Mixer, I think Mixer and Ninja. What did happen with Mixer and Ninja? Because I know there's some people at home that don't know about that, and why did it go poorly?
So Mixer's not around anymore, and they got a little, they spent a lot of money, signed a lot of creators exclusively, and then could just not generate the viewership. Really, is I think just fundamentally what it comes down to. They couldn't find success as a streaming platform, and they had to close shop. So. It's tough. It's really, really tough. So even a company like Microsoft, right, that has such deep pockets, able to make huge investments to get creators and channels and content running, it takes a lot to have a successful streaming platform. So especially in the early days right now with blockchain gaming and some of these startups, and also even a company like DLive has been around for years, right? But now they're focusing more on Web3. So it's just all experimentation, iteration, and trying to see how they can push the narrative forward here.
Yeah, it's an easy look back with 2020 vision, but what should Mixer have done? Because I think there's a nugget in there about growing a streaming platform, growing in esports. Obviously that didn't work. Signing big creators, what's the answer then? Because it did that. Yeah, you tell me.
I mean, if I had the answer, I would probably be running things for Microsoft right now, right? And I don't know if anybody really, has a clear picture, but it's kind of a chicken and the egg thing, right? Where you need channels that are producing content, and then you need the viewers that are watching it, right? And it's easy to buy one if you sign a creator's exclusivity, get them on the platform, but then suddenly they don't have access to their existing following that they just spent years building on YouTube or on Twitch, right? So you got to still have that organic community and audience and stuff. So it's a really, really dynamic problem, but as far as I understand, that's kind of the main reason. They just couldn't get the viewership and the market share to really keep things going.
So the followers didn't follow them to the platform. Is that what you're saying? Because I think there's a cool tie-in there with Web3. There's going to be people that you probably sign where followers, they're like, no, I don't, well, NFTs, that's a scam. Do you guys think about that at all?
It's absolutely true, right? And we're seeing some of that pushback. We were just talking to some news outlets about the Dr. Disrespect thing, and there was some negative publicity he got for launching his project there. But I think that's going to be natural, right? Anytime you're an innovator, and especially someone that's at the top, that there are always going to be people that judge and criticize and try to knock you down. But a lot of that is just because of lack of understanding, right? So when it comes to also the way that we would transition a creator's audience into Web3, I mean, that's a very delicate process. Creators have spent years, again, building this audience and having a sustainable channel, and it's not easy also being a creator. It's a constant grind, and people are so protective over what they put out from a content perspective because they don't want to jeopardize their audience. And so from a transition perspective, we've actually been able to kind of unlock some things to make it easier to where a lot of times people don't even have to be promoting a single game. right? Because it is a bit of a risk also to maybe cover a single game or make that a huge part of your channel. But they can just let people know, like, hey, here's Base. This is this platform where you can go and learn everything you want about blockchain gaming, about NFTs, about cryptocurrency. Here's this community you can join in the Discord server where there's tons of people available to ask questions and to talk about it, right? And so that's kind of one of the nice entry points, is that it's that first natural step to converting people, is just giving them the resources and the understanding of how this industry works in a community where they can learn along with other people.
So, Joao, what's the roadmap here for you guys in the next year or two? And what are you guys doing on like a day-to-day basis that somebody listening right now could get involved in? From like a tokenomics perspective, I know nothing is investment advice. Thanks for getting in front of that. But just from a token perspective, like what can someone expect if they get involved in Base?
Yeah, again, we are so excited for what's next here. And the first thing that I can really bring here is that we are bringing some really innovative and creative ways to interact with our community using our token, our governance token. And since day one, we've been talking a lot about how to build in the best way possible a gaming DAO. So, and the best way to actually empower the community, to actually bring them to help us here designing part of our future in some points, of course, is to actually give them the power through governance token like the YG token, for example, etc. But we are developing some good news here in terms of that, and our plan is to actually already launch our token in the next few months here. It's already really close here, and again, a lot of new projects, new companies that we're partnering, a lot of good stuff that we're going to be able to tell more about it. But one thing that it's really good here is that we are focusing a lot in some new investments and partnerships with the best genres here. For example, we are looking as a great potential for us here some games that is what we call here football, soccer manager games, because people actually had such a great preview history here historic by playing this kind of games in Brazil. And of course, soccer Brazil in the same place. We cannot forget that. So maybe it would be a good way to start in the community. So we're going to be announcing a lot of new investments in some of these games inside of the genres. And again, Matt, feel free, of course, to add anything on about it and tell more about it. But the token and some new partnerships investments is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I think it's going to blow some people's minds as far as what we have planned from that perspective. But I'd love to actually just reiterate, we are so just looking for great people to build along with us and to get involved and take part in this amazing journey of building into Web3 and blockchain gaming. And right now we're an open book. Like if someone wants to get involved, get in our Discord server and let us know, right? And let's build this together. So we have so many things also in the pipeline to help make pathways for people from the community or just anyone, right, to come in, make an impact, contribute, get involved. And then especially if you're someone that wants to really make a big impact or drive an initiative, like we're all about supporting, great builders and making things happen. So by all means, Discord is the best way to get in touch with us, or Twitter. We talked about crypto Twitter, right? Always an option as well, but sometimes it's as simple as that. And then, we'll go make history together here.
Yeah, Matt and Joao, this has been a great podcast. You guys really, dropped a lot of knowledge here from the esports side, from the mobile sports side. So tell me one last thing as far as like mobile projects, because I think you mentioned Illuvium, Star Atlas. There's all these like kind of quote unquote blue chip potential AAA games that are coming out. Is there anything on the mobile front that like maybe people aren't familiar with in the Web3 space? Are there any like alpha drops you can give us here at the end of the episode?
I can definitely drop some stuff here, but I think one thing that's really important is that we're seeing a broader trend for games to make mobile part of their core development process. And that's because mobile is where, honestly, a lot of the players are, right? Especially the existing play-to-earn market and stuff. So as we go on, it's harder to draw a line between what's a mobile game and what's not, right? Because even a game like Fortnite, you can play on your phone, right? And it's exactly the same game. So definitely see mobile being a core part of blockchain gaming in the future. And one game in particular that I'm excited for, just because I have to name drop something. Rumble Kong League has been saying from the very beginning, mobile is a huge part of their strategy. Love what the team is building there. We're going to be also actively involved. Baze Kong DAO is our official sub DAO for the game, and have some awesome projects. So feel free to also check out the previous episode of the podcast to be able to check out our sub DAO there too.
I appreciate that shout out. Joao, you got any alpha, any mobile projects you're interested in other than the one Matt just dropped?
No, not one. I don't think so. But Rumble Kong League is a good name, to be honest. I just really wanted to bring here. I thought that everybody that's watching it right now, if you're building this space, or if you're looking to build, please don't forget about mobile. And I'm not only talking about game development things. We need to improve the mobile experience as a whole, in the side of the crypto industry, in everything, in every part of the journey. We have some points of improvement in terms of accessibility, and when we talk about accessibility, we cannot forget about mobile platform. So again, we are here to help with that, and I hope we can have more alphas that. But again, it's going to be part of the development in the near future right now here. So let's see.
Yeah, you guys did a great job converting a traditional PC gamer today. So I appreciate all the knowledge you guys dropped. We did have a question here. Theo Vice asked, what is their Discord link? So I just dropped the Twitter link, which is going to take you, of course, to their Twitter profile. You can check out Discord on their website at bayz.gg. And I'm sure you guys, find it out. I can't handhold you all the way there. So, Matt, Joao, this has been a great episode. I'm gonna get with Josh after the episode because I do want to sit down with you guys here at some point, maybe next week, because you guys are doing some really cool things, and I'm definitely excited about what you're doing. Thank you so much for coming on the Nifty Q show today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in as well. On audio and video here on the live stream and afterwards. So we'll be here next week. Matt, Joao, do you want to say anything last, to the viewers out there before we sign off?
Oh man! Well, first of all, this was fun. Thanks for having us. But yeah, let's keep this conversation going, and also an open door to anybody listening that wants to get involved or know how they can take their first steps. Happy to point you in the right direction and see what we can do together too. So, but love what you're doing. Can't wait to tune into future episodes too.
Dope. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and we'll see you guys next week. Our Vibe, our tribe.
Thank you guys.